Gran Turismo is seen as one of the better movies to come out this year, and it is a surprise because when most people think of movies, Gran Turismo not too high on most people's lists. Most people did not look at the movie and say, "Hey, I'm gonna watch this," right? But I did watch it, and I will give you my honest opinions on it. And the honest opinion is, they were not wrong. Gran Turismo is in fact one of the best movies to come out this year. And if you don't know what Gran Turismo is, well, first of all, Gran Turismo is a video game. Gran Turismo, the movie, is a story of how one person who played the video game ended up playing in, or ended up driving with the pros. And at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, he got third place with two other people who played the game in one of the most difficult tracks of all time. Basically, you drive for 24 hours, right? And most people probably know it if they know cars or racing. And other people know it because this year's, or the ones that just passed, was a really weird one because they had an American muscle car compete in it. And everyone was making memes about it like, yo, let's go USA. Right? But this is a really, really good movie. The cinematography is good. The actors are good. I don't think there's ever been a part of the movie where you felt like it was slow, right? It was a smooth runtime from beginning to end. It's so good. I could even put it as a 9 out of 10. It's so good. The only way you would not like this movie is if you just really hate cars and racing. That's the only way I could see anyone not liking the movie. The racing scenes are good. Like I said, the characters, the specific one, Jan, and his last name I unfortunately cannot pronounce, so I will not try. So let's go from beginning to end. So anyways, the beginning of the movie obviously shows our main character, John, being very upset with the game. He got the whole setup and everything. He bought an expensive steering wheel, or I would assume expensive because they're like, man, it's the best one, it's good, right? But anyways, so he attaches it, and it's shown that, at least in this country, he is the best Gran Turismo player there is, right? And of course, we got a little backstory of the game for people who don't know, right? For people who came just for racing and all stuff and didn't really care about the gaming aspect, Gran Turismo is seen as the most accurate driving game there is because the man who made it spent hours upon hours on individual aspects of the game. The road, the car, the tires, the engines and all stuff, the sound. To the point where there's one representative for Gran Turismo, and I would assume Nissan too, goes to the executives at Japan, right? To basically say, Gran Turismo is one of the most realistic video games of all time. But we want to take it one step further. We want to take gamers who have played the game Gran Turismo and ready them up to actually race against pros. And of course, first of all, the executives are on board, although they want someone that's a professional, right? So make sure nothing goes bad. You don't want kids dying or teenagers dying on live television because they're going to broadcast it, right? But they're on board. They say, hey, you get it, right? So that's the company aspect of the game, right? And they're going to sponsor the person who wins the entire event. And we go back to John, obviously having some troubles with his dad because his dad doesn't really like him playing video games all that much because he is, if I'm correct, a college dropout. And of course, his concerns are valid too because when your son plays video games all day long with no actual way, no actual plan for the future, you kind of want to push them to a certain direction. They say, all I want to do is race cars, right? Why won't you believe in me? But it's like saying someone playing Call of Duty would want to go, maybe not to actual war, but like competitive paintball or something, right? You would think that's actually no, it's a little bit more achievable. That's a dumb analogy, but you get the point. Like someone who plays VR boxing to get in the actual ring. Now that's a little bit more accurate, right? You would think no, because as obviously, I think most people know, but professional drivers are actually professional athletes because the G-forces that are put onto their body is too much for the average person to handle. They pass out. They just can't handle it, right? So obviously the dad's concerns are still legitimate because, well, to you, your son doesn't have a plan. To him, he thinks he has a plan, but to you, and obviously without the entire tournament that's going to be held a little bit later in the movie, you kind of think your son's going to end up on the streets, right? But anyways, a tournament, right? So Gran Turismo is now going forward with their plan being, hey, we need the best players from around the world, and we're gonna have a little gaming session, right? The top four Gran Turismo players are given invitations to play at their home, or in this case John at a gaming cafe, which is really cool. And he does it, and of course he qualifies by going from last place to the first place, right? Really quickly. So now he's put into a boot camp to be trained to be a professional driver. And of course, if you mess up and mess up and mess up, you get kicked out. Okay, we're not kicked out. It's a bit harsh, but you fail and you get kicked off, right? But of course, he survives. So you almost get kicked out because he, like they say, oh, if you're not gonna commit to passing, then you hit the brakes. And he said, I did hit the brakes. They were just greased up or something, right? That's not the actual word, but basically something was wrong with the brakes. And he says, come on, don't make excuses, man. I know when people are scared, right? It turns out they were, the code word greased up, right? It turns out he was actually right. So obviously he has a little bit more respect for him because, like, okay, maybe he actually does know what he's talking about, right? But anyways, we skip to the end. He wins the tournament by like an inch, as they say, 0.10 or 0.1 second, right? He basically wins via that much, right? So of course we see him slowly. After he wins that, he needs a license to play with the big dogs, right? And the way he does it is by going to a lower circuit and getting fourth place or above. And he was so close to getting fourth place the first time until we get, of course, I hate saying stereotypical cheater because it's an actual based on true event story, but maybe some things were exaggerated. But considering that the actual dude the story's about was his own stunt driver, his actor stunt driver, maybe things that were exaggerated, maybe not too much, right? But of course he rams him off the road and he ends up not getting fourth place, and he goes again and again. He slowly gets higher up because now he goes all the way down to 10th in the next race until the last race he finally gets fourth place by doing some sick maneuvers, right? And now he's playing with the big leagues, right? He wants to get a podium spot. But I think his first ever race as a professional, tragedy strikes as his car flips over from a freak accident, as they say, as when it was going up a hill, I don't know, a gust of wind, I don't know, I didn't hear it correctly, but flipped over the car and it went spinning, and he was seriously hurt. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is a bystander was unfortunately killed in the freak accident. And of course, John blames himself because, who wouldn't in that situation, right? You think it's your fault that the car flipped over. Maybe you went too fast, maybe you did whatever. They try to assure him that it wasn't his fault. But of course, now he needs some self-reflection. And we later find out the coach of the team had a similar experience to him. He didn't cause an accident because it was also an accident, a freak accident, right? Where someone else dies in that freak accident, and of course he blames himself and he retires, and he tells John, hey, don't retire because, well, that's what I did and look what happened to me. You could be one of the best drivers in the world, but you can't quit now. Although it's unfortunate, people dying in racing is just part of the game, right? Although it hurts, it's kind of something you have to accept when you start driving, right? But of course they lose all trust because a sim driver, that's what they call them, basically got into a freak accident. Although it wasn't his fault, all the other professional drivers who don't want a sim driver in their race is trying to make a petition, trying to make him seem bad, like, oh, he's evil, look what happens when these gamers try to race real cars, right? But of course they figure out one way to get everyone's respect by going to the 24-hour race, right? The one where the coach got his accident in, because that was where he got the accident, and try to get podium finish. And of course they need 3 drivers because 24 hours, one driver cannot drive for 24 hours, so they get 2 other drivers, and that is 2nd and 3rd place of the Academy of Sim Drivers, right? And of course we get the best character, the American, you know what I'm saying, USA. But and we also get the dude from Argentina. I don't know what they're called, Americans, British, Argentinians. And of course they race, and of course they make it to 3rd place. Definitely something to celebrate, but they got 3rd place and they get respected, right? And of course that's a bare bones story because he does have his side story with his girlfriend, or a girl that becomes his girlfriend. Some little more stuff happening at his home, stuff. And of course his dad comes around and supports him. But then again, when you kind of show that, you're actually making a living off of this, your dad has to kind of come around, right? But anyways, that is the bare bones version of the story. It is a good one. They, it gets emotional sometimes. It's action damn near nonstop. The only one weird thing, which is a nitpick, is that there are certain scenes where they transition from, being a gamer, right? On your chair with your little setup and turning it into a car in the game, and vice versa, where they go from a car in real life going to back to him in his house, right? And you're like, oh, I don't follow the line that the game gives me, because sometimes that's not the best route, right? And that does come to use in the final race, where he does get third place because of that, right? And also that kind of helps him throughout the entire movie, right? But there's really no dull moment, like, at all. I genuinely cannot figure out somewhere where I just thought this is weird, right? No, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like I said, the cinematography is great. The score is great. Damn near everything. Like I said, the only reason why you would not like this movie is if you just don't like cars. You just really don't like racing. That's the only way I could see someone not liking this movie. But of course, I could rate this a 9 out of 10. When you think of movies, and some people might say their favorite movie is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Super Mario, all those other movies that came out this year. I don't know about Oppenheimer, because I haven't watched that yet, but for the other movies, I can 100% guarantee that you would enjoy this movie too. It's just that good. It's something everyone can enjoy, But anyways, that is the end of the video. I highly recommend Gran Turismo for your viewing experience, or for you to watch, right? Because, like I said, there's not a dull moment or anything. But yeah, next video is probably gonna be, because I made this channel for movies and video games. Although I've been doing nonstop movies or movie related topics, I'm gonna get back to video games, where I'll do a retrospective of a game I used to play and I really liked. Most people probably don't know it, but it does have, although not a cult like following, because most people don't do it like that, it does have a small fan base. And I hope you guys enjoy. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Play of the game.